Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in. Welcome back to the Richard Sherman Podcast. You know who we got, me and my guy Mitch Eisenstein. And for a change, we're starting it off with the Sunday night foodball segment brought to you by Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. You know this game is the game everybody was prepared to watch, Mitchell. Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings for all the marbles. And people have been sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings, and people being this guy, Mitchell, I've been sleeping on them because they are still in the hunt for the number one seed. After all is said and done, they play your Detroit Lions, the Honolulu Blue Boys. Beat up, but very determined to get that one seed, in need of that one seed. How are you feeling?
Richard, I'm feeling on edge, to say the least. Who would have thought? Two teams, two losses, same division. It's going to come down to week 18 in Detroit for all the marbles for the one seed, Rich. I mean, the fact that one of these two teams is going to be going on the road week 1 in the wild card round is absurd. I mean, there's strong argument can be made. These are the two best teams in the NFC and two of the best teams in the NFL. And Minnesota showed it today, Rich. I mean, Detroit Lions, the storyline here was the Detroit Lions need Green Bay to win in order to secure that one seed. If they beat the 49ers, they would secure the one seed. That didn't happen. And Minnesota, despite the score being a two-point game, they blitzed Green Bay early and often and took care of business. Green Bay came back late. How impressed were you, Rich, with Sam Darnold? Let's start at the top. 377 yards and 3 touchdowns, getting everyone involved, from Justin Jefferson to Jalen Naylor to Jordan Addison, who's had a breakout second half of this season. This team is clicking on all cylinders, and I think the whole league should be nervous about them, not just the fans in Detroit like myself.
I said this. And Green Bay fans keep going back to that clip of when Aaron Rodgers left, and I said, Jordan Love, Green Bay won't be feared anymore. Green Bay used to be kings of the North. Kings. Go to Chicago, we own the division. Go to Minnesota, we own the division. Go to Detroit, and they laughed their way through, and we own the division. And I said, you won't be feared anymore. And they keep tweeting me, Mitchell. They keep doing the Twittergram and keep sending me the clip like, oh my God, do you take it back? I don't. You know why? Because Detroit beat you twice. Minnesota beat you twice with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold threw for 377, 33 of 43. And that defense, Green Bay's defense, has been playing stellar this year. Valentine got him this game. And it's crazy because they are doing something. They're 14-2 and 14-2 record. And any other year, you'd be sitting there looking at a one seed. No question about it. They're looking at a wild card, Mitchell. They're looking at going on the road, 14-2. They might be 14-3 for the season, and they got to go on the road through the playoffs to get it's incredible the amount of talent the NFC North has this year, and it's I guess it's premonition of things to come in the future because Detroit isn't going anywhere. I think Jared Goff's going to be there for a while. I believe that the Minnesota Vikings keep Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones looked a little beat up today, kind of had some injuries, but Cam Akers came on and made huge plays, made a huge third down conversion to seal the game. Justin Jefferson continues to be one of the top receivers in the National Football League, if not the number one. Jalen Naylor starting to find his rhythm, 5 catches for 81 yards and that touchdown on that post against cover 2. On defense, they bring a lot of pressure, and I told people this week on Thursday Night Football that that's the Achilles heel right now of Jordan Love. He does not deal with pressure well, and until he does, they'll continue to bring it. That's what the Detroit Lions did. When they needed to have it, Aaron Glenn brought pressure after pressure after pressure. He said, hey, we're depleted. We don't have the guys. We can't keep up with this receiving core that's really, really, really good. Any different guy can go off on it at any different time, whether it's Romeo Doubs, whether it's Reed, whether it's Watson, anybody. They got a lot of guys that can get it done. And we need to figure out how are they going to deal with this. And he showed. Obviously, they came back, ran 2 minutes at the end. Josh Jacobs 17 carries for 69 yards. They ran the ball in, a few touchdowns. Jordan Love threw for a touchdown. But the reason they were behind is because they couldn't deal with that pressure early. So I'm interested to see this last game. Obviously, Detroit plays Monday night against the San Francisco 49ers in a big-time revenge game. You hear the 49ers, George Kittle talking about it. Hey, we know what they're coming for. We know what's on their mind. Everybody understand what's on their mind, Mitchell. Revenge. Now, sometimes you get a little too jacked up. Sometimes you get a little too hyped. And you go past and you look up, and it's still a pretty good team. It's still a pretty good team. And if you mess around so angry and so emotional, so hijacked, they'll flip around and make this a lot tougher of a game than you want it to be. And so, we'll see how that game goes tomorrow. But this NFC North has been incredible.
It sure has. And week 18, the NFL could not have dreamed up a better scenario to end the season. I'm sure this game will get flexed into prime time. Minnesota Vikings and the Lions next week. Guys, I'm sure you're going to be watching, but it's going to be legitimately for all the marbles. Richard, coming into this season, Minnesota was viewed as kind of having a rebuilding year, right? They draft J.J. McCarthy. They sign Sam Darnold to kind of hold down the fort in case things get rocky. And all of a sudden, this team just got off to a hot start and never got off the gas pedal. How does this happen in Minnesota? Do you view them as true Super Bowl contenders with this record, and how have they been playing lately?
I have no reason not to think that, Mitchell. We've already overlooked them enough. Give them credit now, because credit is earned. This is deserved. This is 14-2. You've played the season, and I don't care if you think they've been lucky or good. 14-2 in the National Football League is 14-2, and they've earned it. They got a lot of names on defense. Grenard, Van Gink, that you don't necessarily think of as household names that are playing really well right now. Blake Cashman had a sack and a half in this game. Dallas Turner had a sack in this game. And that's Brian Flores' system. Like he's making it complex. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself and maximizing his personnel. And you have to respect that and give them credit. Kevin O'Connell on the other side. We talk about QB development. He's showing a masterclass in QB development. I think he's going to do great if J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback next year, or if they bring back Sam Darnold for a deal that allows J.J. McCarthy to learn behind him and heal up from his injury and come back strong. But at the QB clinics this year, or the quarterback or the coaches clinics, everybody needs to just shut up and have their notebooks out and listen to what Kevin O'Connell has to say, what Sean McVay has to say, because his coaching tree has really blossomed and shown a lot in this league. A lot of guys coming from his tree have had a lot of success in the National Football League. We talked about Shanahan's tree and them having success. But this guy, Kevin O'Connell, is showing, hey, quarterbacks sometimes need to be in the right system. He's drawing up plays that give Sam Darnold easy looks. And Sam Darnold is also making really accurate, smart decisions with the football. He's hitting slants in very small windows. We saw it to Justin Jefferson. We saw it to Jordan Addison. And he deserves credit for that. So, no, this isn't luck. This is great coaching, great game planning by both the offensive and defensive coordinator, great use of personnel by both sides of the football, and then great play by the players. Sam Darnold, hats off to you, Sam Darnold, because you're doing it. This is what development means in the National Football League. Guys sit there and ready to give up on guys, but if you give them time, give them the right situation, like put them in a situation, empower them with it, develop them, help them understand what's going on out there. Maybe they're not totally league ready at 21, 22 years old, but let them get a chance. Sam Darnold's what, 25, 26? Like, you would think Sam Darnold's been in the league for 15 years, all the stuff he's been through. Like, people have given up on him so early that you don't even realize the kid's not old. He's 25, 26 years old, and he got a lot of football left ahead of him. Tom played till he's 45. I mean, not everybody's going to play till they're 45, but there's a lot of tread left on that tire. You looked at Geno Smith and the way he revived his career with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, sometimes you go to New York and people give up on you, and then if somebody else just happened to give you a chance, maybe there's more tread left on the tire. So good for Sam Darnold, but I don't think this is a fluke at all.
Well, Richard, that's this week's Sunday Night Football, brought to you by Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats has the best game day deals all season long. Order now for game day. Richard, I actually just ordered Uber Eats and watched the last game. It was fantastic. So, you guys, check them out for sure. Great deals on game days.
Love it.
It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. So many games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet now. And here's a gift for all new customers. Bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Richard. That's code Richard for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. When you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's go to Cincinnati. What a wild finish. Probably one of the best games, if not the best game of the season. I kept watching this game and I see Zach Taylor making all these aggressive fourth down calls, and they're just getting stuffed, at the goal line, 4 consecutive plays. And then they go down to the red zone again, another fourth down call. I'm thinking, man, Dan Campbell's got a pretty sizable effect on this league right now. If these coaches are going for it in the red zone like this on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, Cincinnati could have easily been up multiple scores going into halftime, but it was a close game going into half. Starting at the goal line, Chase Brown slides and injures his ankle, resulting in an injury timeout, which gave Denver life. Denver goes down the field and scores with 8 seconds left to tie the game. Marvin Mims, what a catch. First off, did you think that was a catch? You saw him bobbling the ball. I know they called it a touchdown on the field, and then his helmet slides out of bounds. Ball's still moving around, it appears. They call the play stands as called on the field. I mean, your thought about that? I mean, what a heroic finish of this game.
You catch it between two defenders like he did, and he's not the biggest guy in the world. I'm with the standing on the field. Call stands on the field. I understand there was a little bit of a bobble in there, but I'm not. The defenders had more than enough chance to get that football out. That's the right call. That's the way the game should be played. That's the way the call should be called. People get slow motion and semantics. The rules, the way the game is meant to be called, the way the game is, people think it should be called is that way. That's it. And that was a great catch by him. I love that the game went to overtime. Joe Burrow continued to shine, had 2 game-winning drives, with one in fourth quarter that gave him the lead, and then another one in the overtime that gave him a chance. They missed the field goal, and guess what? They said, hey, Joe, do it again. And he said, you know what? DJ Khaled, I'll give you another one. And he did it again. This time he hits T. Higgins in a corner in the end zone for a touchdown, walk-off, touchdown, game winner. Again, Joe Burrow is having an incredible season. 42 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4,500 yards, a really, really remarkable season, an all-pro season of sorts. And that's where it's going to get interesting this offseason. And not to take away from the Broncos, who are going to be in the playoffs this year. Bo Nix had a really, really cool game, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 219 yards. We talked about the Marvin Mims play. He ended up with 2 touchdowns, really starting to shine for this offense. Cortland Sutton, big plays down the stretch, 5 catches, 55 yards in the touchdown. Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito are starting to become a really, really incredible tandem of pass rushers in the National Football League, along with now Zach Allen with 3.5 sacks. It's going to be really interesting to see how they develop. They're a big reason why this defense is as effective as they are. Obviously, in the back end, you got our guy Patrick Surtain, the best cornerback in the National Football League, and a rough game for Riley Moss. Coming back from injury. I'm going to let you know something. Coming back from injury and having to face T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is not what you want. I expected a tough game for him. He'll bounce back and continue to play as he has played. He's had a really good season outside of this game. The Broncos go to the Chiefs, and they have a game where the Chiefs will likely rest Patrick Mahomes and the boys. I thought maybe they'd play him for a half, just knowing the amount of time they're going to get off from this point. It's going to be like 2-3 weeks. But we'll see. We'll see how much they play him. We'll see how much they play Chris Jones. He didn't play last week, and their defense still had a number of sacks. Again, I don't know if you make decisions to win this game if you're the Chiefs. I know you don't play to lose. You'll game plan to win. But if push comes to shove, do you really want to potentially see Burrow in the playoffs? Is that really something that you want to sign up for? No, it's not. You'd like a lot of other people to be in the playoffs. There's very few people that have put the Kansas City Chiefs out of the playoffs. Guess who's one of them? Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has sent them home. He has sent them home. So I don't think they really even, I know there's the very small possibility that they get in, even with the Chiefs winning and everything going as it is. But I don't know if he beats them if he plays them. But why risk it? Why put him in there? Why put somebody that dangerous in the playoffs with a puncher's chance? I wouldn't. But we'll see how that goes. I think the Broncos find a way to win, and they end these hopes of the Cincinnati Bengals. But still, a great season from Joe Burrow and a good season from Bo Nix. Way to come back from the way he started. The Bengals played the Steelers in a very meaningful game. Steelers have lost 3 in a row. They need this win going into the final week, going into the playoffs, the wild card. If they lose this 4 straight going into the playoffs, is not what anybody wants.
The Cincinnati Bengals, for as good as they've been down this stretch and for hot as this team's been and hot as Joe Burrow's been, that disappointing start to the season, and it's happened on back-to-back seasons where they're just having these lackluster starts to the season, and it's ultimately, unless they can catch some serious lightning in a bottle here and you make it into the playoffs, it's ultimately going to be their doom. Cincinnati, like you said, could cause a lot of damage in this playoff, and there's no question about it. I bet if you pulled the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to tell you, hey, we'll play whoever's in front of us. But I can promise you the last team they're going to want to play is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. So, like you said, Richard, the motivation for the Chiefs to win, I'm sure they're going to tell you they're motivated, but I highly doubt that they want to see Cincy in that playoff picture. Let's take it to Buffalo. You've been very critical about Josh Allen and his being a favorite for the MVP race. We saw it today, though. I mean, Josh Allen, statistically, not the best game, I guess, in terms of MVP numbers wise, but Buffalo destroyed the Jets. And I know this division is horrendous right now, and the Jets are a bottom feeder, and everything could not be going more wrong in New York. But I mean, Josh Allen, man, he's got this team playing so well at the right time. Richard, what are your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen right now?
Well, they're a great team, and they continue to show that. We're not giving their defense enough credit. They made a ton of plays to set their offense up in scoring position, and they did the same thing in the New England Patriots game. And I think that's the part that I think everybody's overlooking. Well, at least Buffalo fans, and their argument for Josh Allen being MVP is you're discrediting the defense and what they've done. You're saying, hey, people before the season said we weren't going to do well, and we're doing well. And it's all Josh Allen, and we don't have any other players outside of Josh Allen. And that's just not true. This defense caused two turnovers in this game. They played really good defense, held this Jets team to 14 points, and it should have been less than that. And they've had games this season where they struggled. They gave up 40-plus points, and then Josh Allen had to carry the team on his back. But when he didn't carry the team on his back, they showed up in a big way. And the same with James Cook. James Cook has run the ball really well. And when he runs the ball well, and they need him to run the ball well, he makes big plays when they need to have him. But Josh Allen deserves credit. It's like 5th straight season of 40-plus total touchdowns. That's a great accomplishment. In the National Football League, it's been around a long time. A lot of players, a lot of phenomenal players. And he's on his way to a Hall of Fame career. But when you're talking about arguments that people are making, I guess, again, they give it to him because I have a hard time arguing when last season I was like 29 touchdowns for Lamar. I don't think that gets it done. And they gave it to him, because they said he's playing on the best team. They beat San Francisco 49ers in December. He scored 5 touchdowns. And they said, you know what? It's all Lamar Jackson. That's the reason. It's not because their defense is number 1 in the land or a top defense. It's not because, they got other playmakers making plays. It's because of Lamar Jackson, even though 29 touchdowns. I said, okay, what are we doing? This season, Josh Allen, circumstances a little bit different because they aren't the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs, far and away. But Buffalo is playing really good football. He's elevating his team. He's pushing them to the next level. He's the reason they're number 2 seed. So you have to give him that credit. But statistically, Lamar Jackson is in that conversation as well, with the amount of touchdowns that he has, the amount of passing touchdowns he has, the amount of passing yards he has. And then people try to say, hey, he has Derrick Henry now. But you would think that Derrick Henry would take away from his stats. Hey, they're running the ball more. Derrick Henry has 1,700 yards. But no, it's elevating him. And the reason I say that is because that's what they're saying about a lot of other quarterbacks. And I'm not going to say any names, but when Justin Herbert's stats are down, they're saying it's because they're running the ball more. And the Yeah, I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to say names, but they're saying Chargers fans are saying it's because they're running the ball more, and obviously they have Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, and that's their style. They're going to be a ball control the clock, play defense, don't turn the ball over, and that's what they've done. He has 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, efficient football, not turning the ball over, but not having the gaudy stats. So they're winning football games. They're 10 wins. They're in the playoffs. That's the way they're choosing to win, but on the flip side, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are running the ball well. He's throwing the ball well. They're scoring a lot of points, and they're playing football, and their defense is starting to wake up and playing their best football. We'll see those two teams face off in the wild card, it appears. I'm looking forward to seeing what that will be, but the Buffalo Bills look really good, look dominant. It looks like they'll make it to the next round in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know who they'll play in the wild card, but it won't be Joe Burrow in the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't think. And so it'll likely be either the Broncos or the Miami Dolphins. And, I would expect them to win the game in Buffalo against either of those teams. And then they'll have a matchup with whoever's left, whether it's the Houston Texans or Pittsburgh Steelers or whoever's the lowest seed, or actually it could be Baltimore. It could be Buffalo-Baltimore, which is a game that everybody would want to see against the MVP and the MVP runner-up, likely, whichever way it goes. If Josh Allen wins the MVP, Lamar will likely be the runner-up. If Lamar wins it, Josh will be the runner-up. So we might get that matchup in a divisional, which will be a really fun game, and the NFL will love it.
Richard, on the other side of the field was the New York Jets, and this team is in disarray. It's easy to say this season has been a utter disappointment for this organization, from the way they handled Robert Saleh and his firing, now to this Aaron Rodgers situation. Allegedly, there's reports that Garrett Wilson wants out if Aaron Rodgers returns. What do the Jets do with Aaron Rodgers? What would you do if you're the New York Jets going into this offseason?
I think they got a tough decision this offseason. I don't know if they bring Aaron back because the performance was just not up to snuff. They'll bring a new coaching staff in and a new GM, a new everything. So when you're bringing that in, you want to start fresh. Obviously, you have the talent at receiver. You could probably shore up that offensive line some, but I think you would want to have your quarterback of the future in there, and I think you draft that, which you want Aaron to mentor him. I'm not sure what Aaron's cap number is, but I'd have to look that up. But if it's too high and it doesn't make sense to get rid of him, then you haven't mentored the next young guy. But if not, then I think you go with a young guy with a veteran backup who can understand it, get him a veteran tackle, some veteran offensive linemen who can help him understand how to play this game, a good coordinator, a good head coach to coach him up and put him in position to be successful. Your guy, Ben Johnson, would be a number one on my list. But I don't think a lot of guys are going to have the New York Jets high on their list because of the way Woody Johnson handled this Robert Saleh situation, firing him 5 games into the season. So I don't expect him to necessarily have their pick of the litter of who wants to come there, not because they don't have a talented team, because their ownership group has shown that they will be volatile, that they will get involved, that they will put their input in where it's not desired and really detrimentally impact this team. And that's what they did this season, firing the head coach 5 games into the season. You gave this team no chance. They were 2-3 at the time, not the best record in the world, not the worst record, but teams have come back from that. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, they were 0-2 to start, 1-2, and then came back and imagine them firing a coach because he had a stumble out the gates. No, you don't do that. And so it didn't end up working out for them. They won 2 more games the entire season. So you fire a coach at 2-3, your team is at 4-12 now. Like, I'm sure Woody Johnson's, he's probably not kicking himself because he's, you know what I mean? I don't think he's the kind of guy that really owns his mistakes, but it's a mistake altogether. And so if you're a head coach and you have your pick of the litter, you don't necessarily want the New York Jets situation because of that. You understand the media scrutiny that position gets, and they're on you every week. They're killing you. You know what I mean? Coaches go there to die at this point. And so do you really want that to be the first place you go in your coaching career if you're Ben Johnson? And I doubt it. Man, I think it goes Chicago, and that's it. And you go back to Detroit. If you don't take the Chicago job and you don't think that's attractive, you go back to Detroit and you say, hey, one more again. And you get a raise. You get a pay raise, maybe a couple $1 million. You talk to the Fords and say, hey, I know you don't want to pay me like a head coach, but you got to get me into the ballpark. And I think that's something that they could probably work out. But I don't know if they continue with Aaron, and I don't know if he wants to continue. You know what I mean? I think at some point you look up and you say, man, I don't want to keep putting bad tape out there. I don't want to, I know I can play better than this. I believe in myself more than this, and I don't want to keep putting myself and my teammates through this. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, there's rumors about him wanting out. I think that can be quelled with the right situation that comes in.
Well, if you watch Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix, you can see the competitive fire that burns inside of him. And I highly doubt he's going to hang it up after this year. And I'm sure he's going to come and be prepared for next year. But I don't know if it's going to be with the Jets, Richard. You've seen it from this staff, from this ownership group. We'll see. But it's just clearly not working out right now.
Be at the forefront of style with Rockport's new DMX casual sneaker. Fusing sport with comfort, Reebok's iconic DMX technology meets Rockport's casual style in this exclusive collection. Reebok DMX technology is a lightweight, dynamic cushioning system that moves air from heel to toe with every step to give you that springy feel underfoot and give you that long-lasting cushioning. This collection features two unique rides, DMX Comfort Plus and DMX Micro Bubble. Both deliver all-day comfort that keeps you light on your feet. DMX Comfort Plus technology offers extra rebound and a pillow-soft landing with every stride, while DMX Micro Bubble technology offers dynamic cushioning with a firmer midsole, giving you lateral stability and support all day. Visit rockport.com and use the code Sherman for 30% off your order plus free shipping on orders over $85. Discount code valid through December 31st, 2024.
The Philadelphia Eagles put a pounding to the Dallas Cowboys, 41-7. This was without Jalen Hurts. Obviously bruised up with a concussion last week, and we saw Kenny Pickett come in and also get knocked out. And then your boy from Stanford, right? Tanner McKee comes in and slinging that rock all over the yard. Holy cow, man. Let's start with Saquon Barkley here. This guy, it cannot be stopped. 31 rushes for 167 yards. He's got 205,000 yards on the season. And he's only 101 yards away from Eric Dickerson's record. First off, I got to ask you, because obviously with the expansion of the league schedule, we're playing 17 games now. Like, if I was Eric Dickerson, I would have a legitimate beef about somebody breaking my record that's playing an additional game. I mean, what do you think the NFL should do with these records going forward? Because as we see games added to the schedule, inevitably that gives more people opportunity to break these records.
I don't disagree with Eric. Nobody wants to see their record broken, regardless of the circumstances. Obviously, though, let's use common sense, because Eric Dickerson broke O.J. Simpson's record, and O.J. Simpson's record, they had 14 games to play. Guess what? Eric Dickerson broke it. He had 16 games. So now Saquon breaks it. He has 17 games. You're starting to get the rhythm here. It's going to keep happening. If the game keeps increasing, the people want to see more games. Guys get to play more games. Records are meant to be broken. Anybody that has them will say that. I'm sure he doesn't want it to be broken, but somebody will break Saquon's record. If he breaks this one, somebody will go get his, and that's what progression is. I don't think you'll ever run into a time where somebody's not going to be able to break the record, because guys, keep evolving. The game keeps evolving. The rules keep evolving, and more games are to be played. You hear the 18 game schedule continuing to be a point of conversation. Roger Goodell speaks about it almost every year. They were speaking about it when we were in collective bargaining agreements. We said no, and then it went 17, and then we got into a tough about that, and it ended up being 17. So congratulations, first off, to Saquon Barkley for the 2,000-yard club. Big season for him, career season after leaving the New York Giants in a way that he did not want to. Go into a team with a great offensive line, great scheme, a divisional rival. This fan base has embraced him. I'm happy for him, happy for his family, happy for his career. He's getting to shine like the player that people expected when he came out of Penn State. So this is a great deal for him. Only the 9th player ever to go over 2,000 yards in a season. That's a big deal, a huge deal. Again, the National Football League has been around for a very long time, and he continues to elevate, continues to shine at a time where running backs aren't really appreciated or seen. He and Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry are doing everything in their power to bring the running back position back. Your guy Jahmyr Gibbs as well, Christian McCaffrey, guys like that are continuing to do what they can to allow people to know running back position is not dead in the National Football League. And if you have a great one, you have a chance. All their teams are in contention right now. And if you lose a great one, the Giants, the Titans, the Raiders, you're likely going to be picking in the top 5 next year. So maybe you take notes, National Football League. Take notes.
It certainly looks that way. And the Eagles go to play the Giants next week. We'll see if he gets that opportunity. If they choose to play him with the number 2 seed pretty much locked up for the Eagles, I'd be curious to see if Saquon goes for the record next week. Richard, he's earned a lot of awards, but he's earned our award at Players in Primetime, brought to you by our friends and partners at Breitling. You just spoke so highly of Saquon Barkley. I can only imagine John Mara right now seeing this guy eclipse the 2,000-yard club and probably just kicking himself. And again, they're going to see it firsthand next week. The Giants are going to be seeing their mistakes in the flesh. Shout out again to Saquon Barkley. The LA Rams beat the Cardinals on Saturday night. Rams are hot right now. And Puka Nacua, I mean, my goodness, we've seen Cooper Kupp pretty much evaporate over the last 3 weeks here. And it's Puka Nacua's time to shine. This guy gets targeted early and often and throughout this game. And whether they got a run game going or not, it seems like their safety net and this offense's identity is really run all through Puka Nacua. But you look at them as a matchup across the NFC landscape in the playoffs. They can truly contend with anyone that's in front of them. I truly believe in the LA Rams if they can keep this pace. Do you have that same belief in the Rams? Do you think they are true Super Bowl contenders?
I don't know because they've been so inconsistent defensively. But one thing I will say, and the guy who made the game-saving, game-sealing play for them, Ahkello Witherspoon, my guy. I am so happy for him. I am so happy for Ahkello because he deserves this moment. A guy who's been through the ups and downs of the National Football League. He's been the heel of jokes. He's been blamed for things. And he has been playing stellar this football season for the Rams. He stepped up in a big way. They didn't have him in training camp. They didn't sign him in the 53. They signed him in September. And now he's got a starting role. He's played a big-time game last week. Only gave up 3 catches in a game, playing against Marvin Harrison Jr., and made the game-sealing interception in the end zone off the tip pass. He deserves everything he's getting, but Matthew Stafford always has a puncher's chance. He's a guy you don't want to go against. And if they can find a way, it looks like they'll likely have the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. If everything holds as is, they'll play against the Green Bay Packers at home in SoFi Stadium. And you've seen, hey, can they get pressure? Can Chris Shula draw up some pressures on Jordan Love like the Minnesota Vikings did? Can they do it like the Detroit Lions did? I don't know. But their front, Jared Verse and the boys, are starting to become really disruptive in what they can do. And they got young guys playing at a high level. We talked about Ahkello. We talked about this D-line. And then Puka Nacua offensively. Kyron Williams running the football. Their offensive line starting to show some continuity at this point in the season. And again, if you got Stafford, he's just a dangerous gunslinger. And anytime you got a gunslinger out there, you got a chance.
Let's take it to New York Giants. They put an end to the Indianapolis Colts season, 45-33 win. No one really saw this coming, and Giants had absolutely nothing to play for. We talked about it last week. In fact, they had everything not to play for. They wanted that number 1 overall pick in the draft. I'm sure they want Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders with that number 1 pick. But this was a devastating win for this Giants organization. If they fall all the way to 4 in the draft order now. So you got to look. I mean, are they going to even have a chance to take one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft? It's unbelievable. I guess maybe it's a little bit of karma, Rich. Maybe it's a little bit of karma for mismanaging the Saquon Barkley situation. How does this happen for the Colts? So you look at a team that's got absolutely everything to play for, still have playoff aspirations, and they go on the road and they give up a 45 spot to the New York Giants. How does this even happen?
Well, the way it happens, Mitchell, is teams aren't built that way. And Obviously, I thought when, they had a veteran playing Flacco, that they'd have a chance, and scoring 33 points, you would think they had a chance. Their defense just didn't show up in the way they needed to. Giving up 45 points is unacceptable, and I'm sure Gus Bradley is telling them that in a critical game that you needed to have. But this is one of those games where it just looks like they were sleepwalking through it, and the Giants battle. They're not quitters, and sometimes that's what you need. I don't think Daboll is going anywhere, and his team fought for him. I know they probably wanted the number one pick, but again, teams don't tank. I know fans are like, tank, 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 but that's just not how these guys are built. When he scored the winning touchdown, Drew Lock scored that touchdown. You didn't see the players like, oh, man, we don't get the number one pick. They were excited. They want to win this game. They want to win. It feels better to win than lose. You work too hard to just go out there and lose games on purpose. So when people are like, NFL's fixed or this and that, it's not about the players. It's very difficult to fix it as a player out there. 11 guys, too many things, too many circumstances, too many things on the line for guys. Now, if they want the refs or something to say something, then I don't know about that. I don't think that would ever be the case. But again, I don't think these guys care. They want to win. I don't give a dang if they got 2 wins on the season or 20. And that's what you've seen out of the New York Giants. They wanted to win this game. And it's weird because you just saw Shedeur Sanders wear the New York Giants cleats in the bowl game win. And again, don't count your chickens before they hatch, because you'll mess around and be in Tennessee before you know it. And now you're looking up, and you better hope the Tennessee Titans don't feel the same way, because, those cleats won't age well in that situation. They're going to have to have some difficult conversations in this social media age.
That would be wild, Richard. Let's take it to Christmas, man. I mean, the NFL gave us 2 gifts with the games with the Chiefs and Steelers and Ravens and Texans. Overall, the first game, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've kind of we've been, I guess, somewhat critical of them all season long, despite their record. They're 16-1 now, but they've looked more dominant over these last 2 weeks with wins against the Texans and now against the Steelers. Particularly, they look more explosive offensively. You can see the difference a guy like Hollywood Brown makes with Xavier Worthy out there and the veteran DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, it looks to me that the Chiefs are getting to that point where the Chiefs truly look like that same Super Bowl champion that they were last year. I just don't know what's going to stop them. I know the Bills are playing well. I get it. I know the Ravens are tough. But, what is truly going to take to beat this Chiefs team, especially now that they got a healthy Hollywood Brown at their disposal as well?
Mitchell, last year, I said, this is a down year for the Chiefs. You want to get them, you better get them now. They played down in the playoffs. They battled. They didn't play great against Baltimore. Their defense stepped up, made plays, found a way to win. Found a way to go to Buffalo. People said, hey, if they got to go to Buffalo, they're definitely not getting out of there against Josh Allen, his veteran defense, all the positive things, Sean McDermott. And went to Buffalo, got the win. Went to Baltimore, got the win. And then had a good time beating San Francisco in overtime in the playoffs. In the Super Bowl, I mean. Now we're sitting here critical of a team that's 16-1, sitting there saying, man, they don't look good. They might not be a great team, and they're 16-1. I tell you, a back-to-back Super Bowl champion being 16-1 is an incredible feat. I don't care what it looks like, for all the reasons we talk about why the San Francisco 49ers have struggled, because you get fatigued mentally, physically, emotionally. Even when you win, you're like, boredom kicks in, and you're like, hey, we've done this. I'm tired of the rigmarole. I'm tired of the repetitiveness of this process. And Andy Reid has found a way to keep it fun. I mean, you looked at the Christmas game. He comes in there with a Santa Claus outfit on. All the jokes you think, oh, man, he's making on himself, and the team is loving it. You see their two of their best players, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, coming in there with the robes on, hyping their team up. And you see how excited they are for each other's success. That's the way they've been able to keep this thing going. They've kept it fun. They've kept it new. They've kept it energetic. And I don't know how to say this, but it seems like throughout the season, they've just been experimenting. They've just been trying stuff. Like you lose Isaiah Pacheco and you say, hey, we used to have a guy. Didn't we? The running back, he got in a little bit of trouble. He got in that thing, and Kareem Hunt, let's go get him. Where is he? I don't know. Just get him. We'll figure it out. And then you're like, hey, there's some good receivers out there. I mean, they're not doing much. what is Nuke Hopkins doing? Is he still with Tennessee? Or let's see if he's available. We'll get him. I mean, I know we lost our guy, but let's bring him in. And we got Worthy. We'll bring him along at his own pace. And it doesn't matter who they have. They got my guy Jay Watt out there, Justin Watson, scoring touchdowns, getting open, making big plays. Again, it does not matter as long as you have Patrick Mahomes in this offensive scheme that Andy Reid, and then Spags. Let's get to the other side of the ball. Spags. You don't have Chris Jones last game. What they got? 4 or 5 sacks? Doesn't matter. Karlaftis, get there. Nick Bolden, having a great season. Justin Reed, battling, having a great season. We talk about Trent McDuffie all the time, and it's just a lot of guys that they have that they continue to develop well. The great teams continue to develop through the draft, through trades, through moves that make sense. They didn't give an arm and a leg for Nuke Hopkins. They didn't. They got Xavier Worthy right where they were supposed to get him. Kareem Hunt, they got him off the streets. And he came in and make an immediate impact in big games, came in and they didn't lose a step at all. Isaiah Pacheco, you talk about their offensive line. They've had trouble, and I've spoke to it, their tackles. So they moved Tooney to the outside, bring Caliendo in at left guard, and the show continues. The show goes on. And that's what I mean. They continue to make the right adjustment, the right moves, and the show keeps going on. 16-1. Might end up 16-2 because they don't want it at the end. If they're 17-1 and they put Joe Burrow in the playoffs, that's going to be history that I'd like to write. True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for guys this holiday season. They have premium products at an affordable price. Their shirts define your best features with a perfect fit. Snug in the arms and the chest with just the right amount of room in the midsection. They have a 100% perfect fit guarantee and easy returns. If you're into working out like me, True Classic also has active wear with moisture wicking, quick dry, and odor control. The holidays are here, and True Classic's ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during the huge holiday sale. Just go to my exclusive link at trueclassic.com/Richard to save. That's trueclassic.com/Richard. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. End the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic.
The other side of the ball was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were, I guess, the AFC darling. He saw Russell Wilson come in and lead this offense and scoring 40 plus against the Bengals, 30 plus numerous times. But these last 3 games, they've hit a little bit of a road bump. I mean, they've played true playoff teams, and they came out on the losing side of each matchup. This one was probably the worst for them. But with losses to the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Chiefs in the last 3 weeks, like, are they a playoff one and done in your eyes, or do the Steelers have any life left in them?
They're falling back to reality, and you talk about Mike Tomlin and an incredible job he's done. But then you lose 3 straight and could be 4 straight. Cincinnati Bengals play with the sense of urgency and that they've been playing with over the last couple of weeks. Offensively, Joe Burrow continues to throw the ball around the yard, and Jamar Chase continues to have an all-pro season like he is, and their defense makes enough plays. They could be 4 straight heading into the playoffs. It'd be hard for us to not say that they're likely a one-and-done team. But they'll likely run into the Baltimore Ravens, and it's a division game. And again, you throw the records and all that out of the window when it's a division game, even in the playoffs. It'll be a dogfight. But if Lamar Jackson plays like he has been playing, and they let Derrick Henry run the football, it'll be a story, a Cinderella story where she didn't get the glass slipper put back on her foot. She went back to the stepsisters and stepmother's house, and Prince Charming didn't come get her because this story's over with. But it's still a great season, and they're going to have to make a decision about Russell Wilson in the offseason. It looks like they'll likely extend him or renew his contract or figure out a way to make that relationship continue at least for another year or two. But you look at after these 3 losses in 11 days, and the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, at least on some of these social media sites, are singing a different tune. Some of them are claiming they want to see Justin Fields in the playoffs. They want to see a change up, and I don't think that's the right decision. With the way Russell's played, I think this is a bit of a stumble by the entire team. You see Cam Hayward and things that he said, hey, 10 guys doing their job and one guy's not. You can't win like that. And I don't think he's talking about the offensive side of the ball. I think he's talking about the defense. I don't know who the one guy is, but that's what they're saying. And so, clearly there are some things they need to get cleaned up defensively, but offensively, you got to score more than 10 points. And I know the Chiefs have a great defense and a lot of playmakers, but they're missing their best defensive player, and you can't get it done against them. That's an issue. So those are some of the concerns. The Ravens go on and rout the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud struggles in year 2. They continue to mount, and this is with Nico Collins back. And I don't really know how to explain it. The Baltimore Ravens defense has just taken a great turn, or deserves a lot of credit for whatever adjustments he's made, because they look totally different. Yeah, they look like a different team.
They do. I mean, the Houston Texans, this team, a lot of people had a ton of expectations of them. A Super Bowl dark horse. CJ Stroud, after his rookie year, was expected to be, in that conversation for one of the best quarterbacks in the league in year 2. And it hasn't gone that way, at least in the second half of the season for the Texans. Don't get it twisted. They've been banged up. Losing Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs certainly hurt this team. But, to me now at 9-7, I don't know how much fear they stoke in their opponents. But the Ravens, to go on the road and win 31-2 on Christmas Day is just remarkable. And like you said, this defense is picking it up. The AFC's top 3, it's going to be an absolute battle in this playoffs. How much belief do you have in this Baltimore Ravens team?
I got a tremendous amount of belief in it. My belief is that they won't make the same mistake they made last year. And if they go out, they'll go out on the sword they came in on, or the horse they came in on, my mistake. And that's running the football. And that's Lamar Jackson included. You see these games where his mom's getting on him, and he goes into the press conference and say, my mom got on me for not running the football. I guarantee you this is the season that he cannot go out like that. If he goes out and they lose the game and he has 150 yards rushing and 150 yards passing, I think people will be like, okay, all right, you lost how you came in. But if he throws for 200 yards and rushes for 25 yards and Derrick Henry rushes for 85 yards and they lose that game, people are going to be questioning, hey, why aren't you moving the way you wanted to move? Why aren't you doing everything possible to will your team to victory? People don't care how the art looks. They don't care how pretty it looks. They don't care if it looks quarterbacky or whatever the case may be. They care if you win the football game. So if you want to run for 200 and throw for 50 yards, if you win that game, then people will applaud that. And I think that's what he understands more than anything. And John Harbaugh understands he can't stop running the football in general. I think Derrick Henry in every playoff game they have will have over 20 carries, in order to give them a chance to say, hey, at the end of the day, we knew what it takes to win these ball games, and we're going to go in that way. And if they lose it, not running the ball like they should be, then, shame on them. And I think it's going to be a dogfight, though. I look forward to that game if it comes to it between Baltimore and Buffalo, in the snow, at home, in front of those Rockets fans. I think that'll be a great game, and I think that's must-see TV. The Kansas City Chiefs will play whoever's left, I guess. I don't know how that'll shake out on the other side, but I think that Buffalo-Baltimore game could be one for the ages.
Richard, a little off topic, but teams are starting to make decisions on head coaches, and we're starting to see a landscape of teams that are going to need a coach in this offseason. And one prospective coach that threw his hat back in the ring is your former head coach, Pete Carroll. He's come out and expressed, I guess, interest in the Bears job. Do you think it's realistic that Pete comes back, one, and do you think that's a good fit with the Bears and Pete Carroll?
I think somebody, I can't remember who tweeted it, but they said people need to be more focused on culture builders instead of quarterback builders. And I think that's a really important distinction, because there are quarterback coaches that can help build your quarterback up and help him be more effective, more efficient, and all that good stuff. But the rest of your team struggles. And you got a good quarterback without the rest of your team develop. What made Jim Harbaugh special was developing the entire culture of the organization. And from, the outside in, you can see what he did at Stanford. You can see what he did at Michigan. You can see what he did at San Francisco 49ers. You can see what he did at UC San Diego. And it's hiring great coaches, enforcing the fundamentals, enforcing the rules and structure of the organization that you desire, understanding your players, understanding your staff, and relating to them, speaking to them, understanding them, listening. And Pete Carroll does all those things. He's going to maximize the abilities of his players, both defensively and offensively. He's going to get guys that fit the scheme that he desires to play. He's going to get coaches around that are really great at their jobs, that coach the way that he would like to see them coach. You've seen that he's had success in his tree around the league. Guys leaving the Seattle Seahawks and going to be coordinators or head coaches elsewhere. And although they may not have been set up the best way, Dan Quinn left the Seattle Seahawks and went to the Super Bowl the first year as a head coach. Not many guys can say they've done that, but he deserves a chance to at least build the culture and show that, hey, it can be done this way still. And I think a lot of guys, a lot of organizations, and a lot of coaches have taken notes from what he's done and what he did with our Seattle Seahawks teams and the way he built us and the way that we were talked about and the way we talked about him, and the nuances of the inside the building activities that allow them to continue to be successful. And that's playing music in the locker room, playing music on the field, allowing there to be looseness before meetings, playing fun videos, et cetera, just the little things that go into making the mundane things a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more eventful. And I think that if he gets a chance, he'll do great with Caleb Williams. He'll run the football well, have a great coach to help him develop further in his skill set, allow that defense, who's really talented, to continue to thrive and flourish in what they do well. Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the National Football League, to continue to flourish in his job and his responsibility. And I think, although it may not be the trendy pick, it's the pick that will likely get them further than they have been.
As we conclude this Sunday night, we've got another game on Monday night. We already alluded to it earlier. The San Francisco 49ers take on my hometown Detroit Lions. Here's the deal with Detroit. You know, with Minnesota winning this game today against the Packers, tomorrow night's game is relatively meaningless. You know, so my question starts with you. With number one, if you're Dan Campbell, how do you treat this situation? Do you rest your starters and gear them up for Minnesota? Because really that's all that matters. They need to beat Minnesota in the final week of the season in order to secure the 1 seed, regardless of the outcome of tomorrow night's game. So how do you handle this with Dan Campbell? Do you expect to see the full starters out there for the full game?
I can't expect anything other than what Dan Campbell said he's going to bring. He said he's going to empty the clip. He says he's bringing everything they got, and they're putting it out there. They're not holding anything back. They don't care about the results of any other game. They have this one circled on their schedule since the game last year, NFC Championship, when they lost. So, and the schedule was announced. So I expect them to come out there and give their all and bring their best to the fight. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to have a few tricks up their sleeve, and they're going to play a very loose game and try to give Detroit all they can handle. But if Detroit continues to play as they have been, it'll be a game where they can pull out a very comfortable win. But again, this is a very talented San Francisco, very prideful San Francisco 49ers team. So I would not be surprised if they put up a fight and this end up a one-possession game late into the fourth quarter. And then you gotta stress about. Then you wonder if Dan Campbell is going to do everything he can to win this game, put his guys in harm's way. I don't know, but I think winning is winning, and I think he's going to want to win this football game to give his guys the best chance moving forward, and to make sure that they're ready for that Minnesota Vikings game. The only way you get through this season is to keep sharpening iron. Iron sharpens iron. You can't sit there and rest your guys and think they're going to be ready next week. Unnecessarily resting them. That just doesn't make sense. That's not how football works.
Well, Richard, we are almost at the conclusion of the season, and things are going to heat up, continuing tonight and tomorrow. Richard, I will allow you to sign us off, my friend.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Richard Sherman podcast. I hope you guys had a happy holiday season. I hope you guys have a beautiful New Year's Day. Give yourself some goals, work to them, at least make them last more than 2 weeks. Everybody understands quit day in January is January 14th, 2 weeks into the year. Do not let that be the day where you give up on your goals or the things that you set out to do. At least let them last 2-3 months. Keep pushing through everybody. Love and respect. Appreciate you joining us, whether it's for a minute, an hour, a second. We sure do appreciate it. You hit that sub button if you're new. I judge the quality of a fragrance by the compliments you get. When I wore Ovation for the first time, second time, and third time, usually I walk past somebody and they're like, hey, what you got on? Who over there smelling good? You know, that's the injection of confidence right there to you.
That's right. We want to be at the forefront of using the brand as a gateway for these young athletes. Custom suit, we do a photo shoot, we do video, and it's all about that partnership to create a personal brand.
And I love you guys associating it with more sophistication. Throwing a suit on a kid, sometimes it takes for you to see yourself with a suit on in the mirror to be like, hey, I have more to offer.
Ovation for Men, we're part of Amazon's Black Business Accelerator. You know, Amazon has invested $150 million for the next 4 years to uplift small businesses like myself to scale. You know, Amazon is really putting their money where their mouth is.
They're committed to excellence on every level. They want to scale these businesses to be amongst the best in whatever industry they're in.
You've always been authentic. You've always been pushing excellence.
Well, I appreciate that.
As our slogan says, every man deserves an ovation.
Yes, sir.
Listen, this relationship with Ovation for Men, Richard Sherman, the volume, this is just the beginning.
I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your journey. If you haven't already checked them out, go out there, get your man some. And get the sport too. And it can be Christmas, birthday, holidays, or yesterday. But make sure you get it.